he could have died. A fish in here did die. He could have died. Did die, could have died. But he's a Sparta. He's a Roman soldier. He didn't die. Unfortunately, we lost that goldfish though. Let me explain. So every morning, every evening, before work, after work, I get home, go to whatever I'm doing. I go into the fish room. I check the fish room. I play the counting game. 1 fish, 2 fish, 3 fish, red fish, blue fish, whatever fish. And I keep track of them. So a few nights ago, well, it's been a while, I come in here. I'm hanging out with the family. Come in the fish room. La-la-la. Come in and do my nightly routine, right? Turn the lights off, kind of count the fish, make sure everybody's doing okay. And I come in and find this. I find Sparta right here. Sparta right there. And I was freaking out. So what had happened is I didn't have the glass lid on this tank yet. And Sparta decided to be a daredevil and jump out of the tank. Guys, I was distraught. I ran in here. I had no idea how long he'd been on the floor. For all I know, he was dead. So I come in, I pick him up, holding my palm, holding my hand, kind of that moment of like, gosh, damn it, like, I love this fish, and I'm about to lose this fish. I just lost this fish. Because I'm an idiot and didn't put a freaking lid on the tank. And then he moved. So I run back in, I throw him in the tank, and he's kind of swimming around, kind of not doing much, and you can ask my wife. I sat right here in this room for the next hour, just hoping that he was going to survive. As you can see, he did. Sparta survived, which I'm very grateful for. So now we're going to fast forward a few days. Do the same thing. I come home from work. I did a 16-hour shift. Come in the fish room like I always do. See, it's like deja vu. We're repeating ourselves. This time, things did not go well. As I came into the fish room, I immediately noticed that something was wrong with the goldfish tank. If you remember, we had the big white goldfish, and he was constantly moving. He was hard to miss. He really stood out in this tank. I could not see him in the tank. Came over, and I found him on the ground. Kicking myself. We just went through this with Sparta. We just had a fish jump out of the tank, and it happened again. Guys, right after I bought the glass lid for the 20-gallon tank, I did not have a lid yet on the 55-gallon tank with the goldfish. And I was a day away from buying one. I had to wait for a paycheck to come in. I couldn't get out to my fish store, which is an hour away. Just some factors that needed to happen. And I had the next day off. I was going to go the next morning to buy a lid for this tank. So I knew that this was probably the next tank that a fish would jump out of. Seeing as I don't have a lid on yet on the 40 breeder, but Milo, my puffer fish, he never really comes up in the water column, so I've never been worried about it. But I do have a lid for this, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. So I come in, and unfortunately, the big goldfish is on the floor, dead. I really think that he was out of the tank for over 10 hours. I'm trying to tell a sad story here. I really do think he's out of the tank for like 10 hours, and just... Ugh. I lost him. So now let's talk about the importance of why we have lids in our aquariums. Like I said, right now, I do not have a lid on the 40 breeder. I have one here, and the main reason I don't have it on here, and it's kind of a pathetic excuse, is the way that this filter is set up, the heater is set up, and the airline is set up. I don't want to make the custom cuts in the plastic because in the future, this filter will be on the back of the tank, not the front of the tank. Right now, it's only on the front of the tank. So I don't have room from the wall to the tank for that filter to fit behind there. And the way the heater sits, really take this entire tank and we're going to do a full 180 turn and adjust everything so that's going to become the new front and back of the tank, if that makes sense. Now, I really should have a lid on this tank. Milo, he's my orange-abai puffer fish. He does not swim up in the water column. Whereas if you come over to my bedded fish tank, that bedded fish will jump. My guppy breeding tote, I put a lid on here. I have fish in my 75-gallon tank that would like to jump, so I put lids on here. Well, we learned about Sparta, so we got a lid for him. He was going a little daredevilish there. And then we lost the goldfish. So the next day, I bought glass lids for those. So there's a reason. There's a big reason why we put lids on tanks, is fish will jump. If you give fish the opportunity, most of them will jump. You know, it's interesting. When I had the zebra danios in that little 5-gallon for a minute, there was a night I was sitting here working, all of a sudden I hear a ping! A danio jumped and hit the lid. But another reason why we keep lids is Joey, the king of DIY, has talked about this, and it's very evident in my fish room. So I have the 40 breeder, I had the 10-gallon guppy tank, I had the 5-gallon betta fish tank, we had the blackwater tank up here, the 75-gallon, we added the 20 long and the 55. Oh, and the snail tank that was over here. So that was the height of how many tanks I had in this room at one point. The 55-gallon, the blackwater tank, and the 40 breeder were all uncovered. So we're not talking fish jumping right now, but they were all uncovered, no lids. The humidity in this room was out of control. So the reason why we keep hearing traffic is that I have my window to this room, I leave it cracked. It does do some nice circulation in here. I run my ceiling fan, and I do that mainly for the circulation of the room. But I started noticing, though, that I was getting a lot of condensation on this window. As soon as I put lids on the 55, that condensation went down incredibly. I started to kind of cover up the blackwater tank we had right there. The humidity went down. That's another major reason that we need lids on our tanks, is you have an open water source. It's like with the guppy breeding rack. There's a reason why I put the polycarbonate lid on there, and the main reason is humidity. It'll keep it down and help with it. So I also have added, it's very small, I added a little dehumidifier to the room. It's a little cheap one. It's like $30 on Amazon. It doesn't pull a lot. I know I could have spent like $200 for a big one from Home Depot and put a 5-gallon bucket underneath it and draw out a lot more moisture in the room. But this little one, boop, it works. It does what I need it to. And with that working, the lids on the tanks, I don't have nearly the condensation that I have anymore. But another reason why we keep lids, and this one is a prime example on Sparta's tank. Before I had lids on Sparta's tank, I was struggling to keep the temperature up in that tank. Did some research, and I like to keep my flower horn at 80 degrees. A 75-watt heater in there, which is rated for 20 gallons, which heater ratings typically are pretty accurate, unlike filter ratings. So I had a hard time getting that up to 80 degrees, and I noticed that the heater was on constantly. So I started to, and I honestly, for a minute, I was like, why won't the heat stay up? Blah, 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 blah. The pufferfish tank stays up just fine. Every other tank stays up just fine. Well, here's some differences. The pufferfish tank, I have a 300-watt heater in, and I'm only keeping it at 76 degrees. Right now, in this room, the goldfish tank, before the lids, was staying at about 73 degrees. Even though I have an uncovered sump on the 75, I'll keep that at 78. The top of the tank has lids. So it dawned on me. I put lids on the 55-gallon tank, and this temperature went up to a stable 75 degrees in this room. That's one reason why the pufferfish tank is easy to maintain at 76 degrees with no lids. Now here's the thing, though. As soon as I put lids on Sparta's tank, that 20 long, that 75-watt heater has no issues keeping that tank at a stable 80 degrees. Lids help maintain heat. Sorry about that interruption. I had a knock at my door. I had to go check the door. But guys, there's my spiel on lids. Fish jumping. You're going to save some livestock. Heat and humidity. 3 big reasons in my opinion why we use lids. Now we know there's numerous options for them. I like the polycarbonate. It's really cheap. It's really simple. It's been working really well in my 75-gallon. I got a little antsy, and I bought the glass hinged lids for the 55. the 20 long, and that's actually the same lid I have for the puffer fish tank. And that's kind of what I'm moving towards in the future. Is I want the all glass lids, but honestly, guys, like these polycarbonate, they've been great. They really have been great. And I know I want to say I want to buy all glass lids. At the same time, though, like you can't beat the price of the polycarbonate. So there's what I have for you. There's my sad story of Sparta almost died. The goldfish unfortunately did die, but we made mistakes. We fixed them. That's part of fish keeping. So I encourage you to get lids on all your tanks, whatever type of lid you may have and may need to get. So I am Trent Wel-Don, Wel-Don Aquatics. Thank you for joining me, and we'll talk to you guys next time.